Welcome into Marketology for Monday, April 16th. Alongside Matt Holt, I am Drew Martin. We're going to be hitting on all things NHL betting straight from Vegas. We got the Vegas Golden Knights killing the books. We'll get Matt's opinion on that. We got a bunch of baseball betting, what to bet, where the money's coming in. Also a bunch of rainouts to know about on the MLB card. And NBA playoff betting. What's going on with the 76ers, the Cavs going down game one. We got Matt's opinion from the other side of the counter. He is Matthew Holt, Vice President of CG Technology. Matt, welcome in, man. It's going good. Good weekend. A lot going on as far as NHL and NBA playoffs. Also, MLB full swing. Let's start off right at the top here. You're in Vegas. You know, all of the kind of noise around the Vegas Golden Knights. Absolutely killing the books. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? And how much money have you guys actually lost with this NHL franchise team?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. In fact, we had an amazing weekend. If you would have taken the Golden Knights out of the weekend, then we would have had $1 million plus weekend. When you include the Golden Knights activity, we actually only won about 400,000. It's just been unbelievable the amount of money wagered on the Golden Knights every single game, and the Golden Knights series price, which at this point up 3-0, certainly seems like a lock, at least for this series. So. With the Cavs losing and Portland losing and the Astros losing as a 3.5-1 favorite last night, there's been so many huge wins for the book, and the Golden Knights continuing to win is sort of negating a lot of that.
And bringing that into account, I mean, at some point, I would think there'd be like a buyback, a sharp buyback the other way. Would you recommend it being a smart bet to kind of fade the Golden Knights, knowing that you guys need them to lose?
Well, intrinsically here, there's supposed to be value on the Golden Knights in Vegas because we're going to be higher than the offshores. We have bigger liability in the futures on the series and on a per game basis than the offshores, especially when the Knights are here playing at home. The problem has been the Knights aren't losing. So, yeah, there's plenty of value maybe in betting against them. But if they continue to win, that value is going to become irrelevant for this season.
And Matt, what about on the baseball card? I mean, there's been huge rainouts pretty much every day. How much money is that costing you guys?
A lot, because what happens is, so our business is basically about 65% of dollars wagered happen on accounts, 35% of the dollars wagered happen over the counter, but it's about 60% of the tickets written are actually over the counter. 40% of the bets on account. So all these people that walk into the book, a lot of times, guys swing by on their way to work or guys swing by on their lunch break. And regardless of why they swing by the book, a lot of times, especially locals that live here, they swing by the book one time per day. They put all their bets in and then they either go to work, go home, whatever, go to the bar, whatever it is they're going to do. And when you have this many refund tickets, it's kind of takes away some of that money. They're not betting, they're not rebetting it as much, especially over the counter. On account, it gets rained out, the guy gets the money back in his account and he might rebet it. Here, the disadvantage to us in Nevada and soon to be the rest of the U.S. is when you take these bets over the counter and a guy gets a ticket, in a rain out, you don't see him till the next day. So you don't get that rebet action you do online or on account. And it certainly hasn't been great for the books in terms of handle.
Yeah, interesting little tidbit there on the business. Thanks for explaining that, Matt. What about something I've noticed in MLB so far this year? There's been a ton of like minus 200 favorites. Do you see that kind of makes bettors a little bit more reluctant to actually place bets on maybe like minus 200 plus 170 rather than a minus 110 spread?
Well, I think some of those numbers are about to come back down to earth. And what I think happened going into this season is we didn't have those middle ground teams that we normally have, at least in the projections. Normally you have all these really high profile teams, then you have a bunch of middle ground teams sort of in that 83 to 79 season win total, and then you have a bunch of lower tier teams. The problem was this year, we didn't have those middle tier teams. Basically, the Mets got bet so hard preseason, they turned into a top tier team, and they came out of the gate so strong, they immediately turned into a tier team. The Angels immediately turned into a top tier public team because of all the publicity and around Otami and the hot start they got off to. But what's happening now is we're starting to see some of these teams turn into those middle tier teams, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, exceeding expectations, the Minnesota Twins. So the Toronto Blue Jays, so as we actually settle into, hey, there is still this huge gap of teams that's going to win between 77 and 85 games. Our season's tighten up, I think.
Lang put out a piece on just teams, how highly they're priced. Like Cleveland last year, average price minus 170. This year, minus 180. You know, keep in mind, that's the average price. The Cubs were minus 152 last year, minus 166 this year. The Red Sox, minus 142 last year, minus 170. So do you see a correlation with, yeah, they're good teams, but it's the Bostons, the Chicago Cubs of the world, the Yankees are highly priced. Coming from those big markets as well, Matt?
Well, I don't want to bag on anybody's reports that they do or the numbers they put together, but 8 of the Boston Red Sox first 10 wins came against the Miami Marlins and the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, they played 2 series against Tampa Bay. Chicago Cubs opened with the Miami Marlins, supposed to be the worst team we've seen in 15 years. The Cubs supposed to be improved. So, I mean, some of this has to do with, we're talking about a small sample size, 12 to 15 games out of the gate, and the teams you named have played an extremely unbalanced schedule thus far against really bad teams.
No, yeah, good point, Matt. Hey guys, we got we got Nick in the chat box. Andrew, what's up, guys? Jay, any questions you have, feel free to throw out. Also, if you're liking the content, please give us a thumbs up, the like button. We got Jay asking about, what about the Ducks game? Do you have anything? I guess on Anaheim, Matt. Anything in NHL?
Yeah, let me see how we're looking tonight. So as of right now, we actually need the home team. And what's been interesting in this is that we have needed the home team to win in every single game in this series. They bet San Jose on the road in the first 2 games, and now we're getting Anaheim action tonight. Look, 82% of the dollars wagered over the counter on the Ducks so far, and 91% of the dollars wagered on account on the Ducks so far. So this has been one of those rare series where not only is the road team winning, but that's who the bettors are betting as well. And that trend continues tonight as they're on the Ducks with the plus money.
And Matt, you've been doing this a while. One thing I've always noticed, because I'm not too big into NHL betting, as far as home court or home ice advantage in the NHL, compared to, football, where actually noise can affect the game, and baseball, where the dimensions change. So the home field actually has built-in advantages. What kind of home field advantages are there in hockey?
Well, let's look at the 4 games tonight. For those who don't think that home ice is that advantageous in hockey, 3 of the 4 series that are playing tonight are 2-0 in favor of the home team. Now, granted, the home teams in all of those situations were the better teams, but they all also stood pat at home. And here's a good example. I mean, look at some of the lines on the road. You were seeing Pittsburgh over Philly, 180, 170, 190 at home. Pick 'em on the road. So, I mean, it looks like hockey home ice in the playoffs is worth about 60 to 65 cents. And I would say that when they talk about baseball home field advantages in the playoffs, it's always 50 to 60 cents. So if nothing, not only is it comparable, but maybe it's 5 to 10 cents higher, at least what we're seeing in the marketplace.
And yeah, the market's showing that. Can you think of anything off the top of your head that would lead to that being the case?
I don't know, really. I always thought hockey, because anytime you have that little of a margin for error, I always felt like you're more open for, hey, 1 fluke goal by the road team. In a sport where you're only supposed to score 5 goals combined, that 1 fluky goal could really make a difference. But when you look at the last couple of years, home teams are faring very well in the NHL playoffs. We talked about the series tonight. Home teams are 6-2 out of these 4 matchups. So at least recency bias, it looks like home teams are faring well. I don't know what it is. Maybe the crowds are just a little more energetic. I do know this: attendance and TV ratings are up this year with the Golden Knights, and some of the new rules changes that the NHL has put into place, like the 3-on-3 overtime, which is really fan-friendly. I know that all the hockey purists hate it, but let's face it, it's better to watch if you're watching it.
Okay. Yeah, and hitting the chat box, we got Juan. What's up, man? Jay also asking, NHL thoughts on Toronto Maple Leafs versus Boston. That's from Andrew.
Let's see what we got tonight there. Interestingly enough, here we have pretty big liability to the Bruins on the money line, but also pretty big liability to the Maple Leafs on the puck line. We actually took a $6,000 and a $14,000 bet on the Maple Leafs plus 1.5 minus the big price around. It's actually around $3. We took a $6,000 to win $2,000 bet, a $14,000 to win $7,000 bet. Now we're plus 1.5 minus 330. So you look there. If the Bruins could, if Toronto could, if the Bruins win this game by 1, we'll probably be okay and end up breaking even here. I mean, if they win it by more than 1, if the Bruins are going to win, we need them to win by more than 1 goal. That's for certain here. But, not surprisingly, a lot of Bruins action. They're up 2-0. About midway through the season, or maybe 2/3 through the season, the Bruins became one of those teams that a lot of sharp backers were backing to win the Eastern Conference. Not Tampa Bay, not Pittsburgh. It was the Boston Bruins, in that kind of mid-January to mid-February range that the Sharps were backing to win the East in the futures market.
He's Matt Holt. Follow him on Twitter at Matthew Holt VP, Vice President at CG Technology. Any questions for him, feel free to fire away in the live chat, guys. Getting into NBA playoff betting now. And actually, right before we came on, Matt, I was talking to my friend Zach here, and he brought up a point. He read an article that in Las Vegas, the basketball handle overtook the football handle as far as NBA and college basketball compared to college football and NFL for the year. One, what are your thoughts on that? Have you read that report? And have you actually noticed that the buzz, especially I guess for March Madness, was that much bigger this year?
Wow, Drew, I love you, but some of your guys are sending you reports that are a little bit biased, my friend. Right. A little bit biased.
He is a basketball guy.
If you took out March Madness, that report would be completely different. We tell everybody straight up, and it's been like this for several years now, March Madness itself, those first 4 days of March Madness alone, do 3 times more handle than the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl in the state does about 150 million. The first 4 days of March Madness do 400 to 500 million. When you start talking to numbers that are 500 million, of course you're going to screw the rest of the season. And there's so many more games in the NBA season, in the collegiate basketball season. College football, they only play 12 regular season, NFL 16. Look, on a per game basis, I can guarantee you that the average NFL game still outhandles the average NBA game by at least 7 times as much.
Okay. And what about now there was some weeks, Matt, where college football overtook the NFL as far as total handle bet. Have you noticed that as far as college football kind of reeling in the NFL as far as popularity with bettors?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, more weeks than not, the college football Saturday handle was bigger than the NFL Sunday handle. And the reason for that is simple the last few years. More college football games on TV. Basically, at this point, there's more than 70% of the Division I college football games are on some type of TV. You can either watch them on your iPad or you can watch them on one of the 25 different stations now that are carrying sports. So all of a sudden, these games that bettors weren't betting before because they couldn't watch them, now that they can watch them, they're betting them. And with so many more games than the NFL has on a given day, college football Saturday doing more handle than an NFL Sunday is actually the norm now and not the abnormality.
Yeah, interesting. Good stuff, Matt. Hey, on NBA, we got Cavs going down in game 1. How's that affecting you guys taking bets going forward in the Cavs series?
First of all, that was a huge win for the book. We took some monster money line bets in that game, including a 6-figure bet, 100K to win 20K on that bet. On that game. So that ended up being a monster game for the books. But I will say this, anytime you have a team like the Cavs, like the Warriors, like the Houston Rockets this year as their #1 seed in the West that loses that game 1, bettors get in that mindset of there's no way they can lose game 2. And I guarantee you coming into game 2, we are going to see some monster money line bets on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay, we got Nick asking Heat. Any tips on the Heat game tonight, or anything as far as tonight's NBA action?
You know what's interesting is I've seen the market. Look, we've been heavy Philly for the last month here. I mean, sharps and the public have just absolutely fallen in love with this 76ers team. And I see a lot of books still around 6.5. Look, we're a steady 7 here. And the Philadelphia 76ers are by far our biggest liability to the book for tonight's games as of right now. And it is not close. So it's interesting to me that some of this marketplace is holding 6.5, obviously not getting the same amount of Philadelphia 76ers handle that we are, but we have just been taking a ton of 76ers handle. And I think it would be a lot worse if not for the fact that Joel Embiid's out with a concussion tonight. I think if he was in, this thing would be a monster liability to the book.
Yeah, so you're saying the 76ers kind of bettors are in a love affair with them. Is that just big bets, sharper big bets, or is that public money or a little of both? Or a lot of both.
Yeah, it's both, actually. And not only are they betting them in this game and betting them in this series, but they're betting them to win the Eastern Conference. Look, last year is the Washington Wizards. They got hot coming into the playoffs. John Wall, Bradley Beal, that starting five was pretty solid. And the Washington Wizards became that team that everyone thought maybe could dethrone the Cleveland Cavs in the East. Obviously, it didn't happen. Didn't even come close to coming to fruition. But this Philadelphia 76ers team, they're the team this year. They're that Cinderella sexy team where everyone's saying this is the team to dethrone the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East. Nobody really likes Toronto. DeRozan and Lowry have a history of not getting it done when it counts in the playoffs. The Celtics, all their key players are injured. That leads you down to the Philadelphia 76ers. They're young. They're exciting. They have names that people know now. Ben Simmons was unbelievable in game one, and I just think the public right now, this is that hot, sexy team that they're all riding.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And Matt, I know we didn't talk about this before, but we had the fight night, and we did our UFC show the week before. We're going to be doing it for the numbered events for UFC. But if you're not following Matt on Twitter, you need to, because he'll give out his picks for all of the UFC events on Twitter, especially the fight night ones where we're not doing a show. But Matt, anything you want to throw out there from the fight night betting this past weekend?
Yeah, I only went 4-1.
Yeah,
could have almost been 5-0. We went 4-1, and Marvin Vettori ends up losing that split decision, a controversial split decision. We get that split decision home. We go 5-0, including 2 big underdogs. So almost a monster night, but a really good night. And it was an interesting card because a lot of the picks, and I posted my picks earlier on Twitter in the week, and yet a lot of the lines went heavily against it. I posted early in the week that I played Brad Tavares at -140, loved him, yet Christoph Jocko still went off the favorite, so I ended up double playing Brad Tavares. Dustin Poirier I thought was a real lock pick, just like a real step above Justin Gaethje in terms of level of competition and ability, durability. And the fight was close. They both took a lot of damage, but Poirier ends up finishing him in the end, and a lot of love for Justin Gaethje in that fight. And same thing with Michelle Waterson. That favorite flip-flopped as well, and we were able to get Michelle Waterson as an underdog in a fight that looked like we were going to have to lay 120 all week. So, it's good to kind of get a feel of where the market's going so you can certainly get the best prices on those fights.
Matt, we got some guys asking here, Jay in the chat box. Before you leave, ask Matt if he has any plays for tonight.
Not necessarily. So look, I'm tempted to play both Miami and Golden State. A lot of, it's that zigzag theory. I hate to be public and say that, but anytime you're catching such a big number, especially in the San Antonio Spurs case, I mean, this is a tough team to back right now, but you're so well coached, and without Steph Curry, we're still going to catch 9.5, 10 points here. It seems like a night where we're supposed to be on the underdogs. And I'll say this, too. In hockey, something's got to give with these favorites. 6-2, and in 3 of the series, the favorites are 2-0 each so far. 6-0, the favorites in some of those series. Tonight feels like a night where either New Jersey or Colorado come out heavy. There's a long-standing theory about playing on teams that are down 2-0 in the first period at home. So a bet that might be worth looking into is Colorado, New Jersey, and Toronto all down 2-0. Most books have them. I know we do too. Team to score the first goal. It's probably around a pick 'em price. Small plus price on New Jersey, small plus on Colorado. I wouldn't mind recommending laying team to score first goal, the underdog, in all 3 of those, taking the home team.
Okay. Well, thanks, Matt. I mean, you want to throw out anything else as far as betting tonight or this week is in sports betting before we shut this down?
Look, it's going to be a really fun week. I mean, we have NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs every single night. And because it's still early in the first round, you pretty much know every team's playing every night. So, a ton of action this week, a great UFC card Saturday. And hopefully, look, Golden Knights have an opportunity to win their first ever playoff series tomorrow night. And if they do, it's going to be a tough phone call with the bankers on Wednesday.
Oh, man. Thoughts and prayers with you, Matt. And then as far as the UFC card, I mean, anything you're liking early in the week here? Have you bet anything yet?
Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, you know what? I'll go right to the co-main event here. Frankie Edgar minus 220 over Cub Swanson. It's a rematch. They fought recently about a year and a half ago, and Frankie Edgar absolutely dominated him. But I'm always nervous about backing a guy who just came off his first knockout loss of his career and then trying to turn around and come back and fight so quick. Look, when you've had that long and illustrious of a career and you never get knocked out, and then all of a sudden you do get knocked out and you go for that quick turnaround, I've seen that quick turnaround backfire on a few guys who got knocked out and said, let me jump back in there. Michael Bisping, after he got finished by GSP, jumped right back in there a month later against Kevin Gastelum, got knocked out in the first round. Cub Swanson hits hard. He's going to want to win this fight. Frankie Edgar, it's a real quick turnaround, laying a really big price. If you can get Cub Swanson plus 200 or better, might be worth taking a flyer.
All right, Cub Swanson, plus 200 or better from Matt Holt. He's Matt Holt, Vice President, CG Technology. I'm Drew Martin. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks, guys.